Do I have a second? Chris Norberg seconds it. Jim Sheeline made the motion. Any more discussion? Thank you. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, Wendy, you want to take the next one?
Yes, absolutely. So the next one is somewhat similar. When we presented this to you back in April, the idea of consolidating the IT resources in the courts building, moving the server room. I actually submitted, and in your packet here is the actual board action request form. And I want to draw your attention to the bottom section of that, in which we originally stated that we knew there were going to be additional electrical and cooling costs to the server room, but we didn't have the information we needed to present it to you in April. So now I'm following up. These costs identified in red are additional costs. Technically, they've already been done. The question becomes, should we spend ARPA capital fund money on this or not? So I'm looking for a vote again to expend this money out of the ARPA capital that's already been designated, that 1.5 million.
Question, this is already in the numbers, correct?
This one has not been added into the numbers. It is shown as pending or unapproved under. We
For
put
Lee
it under
County.
capital.
So did you,
budget.
Wendy, you comment. I'm looking off of the handout.
Yeah.
And you said something in red. I don't have anything in.
Can we
color.
get it on the screen here?
oh, what it's in onboard,
Onboard
attached to your, it's attached to your agenda. It's right on your agenda.
Gotcha. Thank you.
I didn't mean that to sound like it did. Do you want it on the screen or do you see it, Jim?
Oh, I'm getting there.
That additional 21,279 is listed under unapproved Lee County capital projects.
But the 26 is already approved?
Yeah, the 26 was approved.
All right.
And to be clear, all of this money has been expended. The question is, I believe the intent was to take it out of that ARPA capital. We just didn't have the dollars in order to present it to you.
This is the IT servers.
Yeah, the centralization of the IT server room over in the courts building. Yes, correct.
And our maintenance
Now I got it up.
did this project ourselves, correct?
The electrical, we of course didn't, but they did rip out the carpeting, replace the flooring. The heat, the air conditioning unit was also done by a contractor because of course we don't have the skill set to do that, but
We acted as a general. In other words, I'm trying
that
to
is correct.
there's a $30,000. We'd have to bid this out otherwise, but as long as we acted as our own.
And it was not by design, but it was piecemeal. There were several things we didn't know we needed until we got well into the project.
Yes, Chris.
I'll make a motion to approve the $21,278.71 and move that to finance.
Out of our, it's into the things. Mr. Norberg made the motion. Mr. Bivens seconded it. Any discussion? If none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
While we're on that page of the Lee County capital project. I can move this up. We've got some projects up there with little notes next to them. These are ones that were discussed in budget meetings last week, right?
Correct.
And we put them on there for unapproved, just to kind of keep them on your radar that these are projects that are coming up that could potentially come out of ARPA funds. So we just kind of have those there so that those are on your radar. Anybody have any questions on that?
I would just add to that, Sarah, that these are projects that you've probably heard Tom Wilson talking about. And we did request through the budget process, these capital projects, with the exception of the one you just voted on, the 21,279 for the courts building IT services. Those other things are all items we're looking at doing over the course of the next 12 months.
And that still leaves about 60,000 remaining in that allocation.
That's what we're estimating as of right now. I will say that Sarah is unaware of it, so her chart doesn't reflect it, but just yesterday, we received an updated quote finally on the old courthouse elevator repair, which you see on that chart as 90,000. The quote came in yesterday at 120,000. So that's going to eat away, Chris, at that 60,000 a little bit, but we're still under our 1.5 million allocation for capital projects.
All right. Sarah, do you want to take it from here?
Next item on the agenda is just a community service program. So our community service program that we launched earlier this year, we had 6 agencies that applied for that and received funding. They've submitted their first quarterly report. Just wanted to give a little bit of an update as to where their funds have been spent. So Hope Bible Fellowship gave $1,400 in cash assistance for mission projects, fuel assistance, and benevolence requests to the community. Shining Star Children's Advocacy Center used $351.68 to cover a copier, scanner, fax lease agreement. Previously, the expenses due to COVID, they didn't have the funds available to cover that, and they had to pull from another line item. The Dixon Family YMCA used all $10,000 in funds for financial assistance for families within their child care program. Meals on Wheels of Dixon provided food assistance to 180 clients, and they used almost $2,000 or a little over $2,000 of their funding for food assistance, phone bill, stamps, postage, and insurance. Sinisippi Centers has a program where they assist their clients, and they covered rent and mortgage assistance totaling $447.45, and they used $280 in cash assistance for gas cards for clients to attend job interviews. And then United Way of Lee County used the funds to cover salary expenses for the quarter, allowing community donations to go back into the community through their Summer Eats program that's ongoing right now. So next item is our outstanding general ARPA request. As I had mentioned previously, we have outstanding
Hey,
requests
Sarah.
totaling.
I'm sitting here looking at the first quarter report. I really, really like that. I really like knowing where the money went and how it's benefiting the community. So as we get those, please continue to include that, because I think that's beneficial to see for this community committee, the rest of the county board, to see where our money is actually going. So I appreciate that.
I will continue to update each quarter when I get their
Thank you.
reports back. Outstanding general ARPA request, we have 6.1 million in requests, 585,589 remains available in the general request category. I know it's been a few months since the applicants have been here to talk about their request and what their project is and what they'd like to have funds for. So I'd like to take just a few minutes to go over those requests with you to refresh your memory. Open that up for questions. If anybody has any specific questions about a request, we do have not everybody that has a request, but a majority of people here. Let me get to general request here. Those. It is a bit small. That's why you have your packet there in front of you to follow along. First request. If you recall, Kathy Ferguson and KSB were here requesting funds for a school-based mobile health clinic. Amount on that was $430,000. We had 3 requests from Kreider, $200,000 for frontline staff bonuses. Previously, under the prior ARPA rules, that would have been ineligible because they had already received premium pay. But given the new changes in the ARPA rules, that made that eligible again. They're also looking for $11,209 for COVID test kits for their clients and for their employees. And then their large request is for the golf course irrigation system, which was previously ineligible under old ARPA rules. But given the changes in ARPA rules, this one is now eligible. I have $840,000 listed there because there was a span of $700,000 to $840,000 that was listed on the estimate, and I went with a larger amount. And I haven't received any information that may have changed, but that's where we're at with that one. Lee County Fire Chiefs, $450,000 for fire training facility for all Lee County fire departments. Jeff Bryant from Amboy Fire, $17,945 for a mobile trailer mounted sign to communicate COVID and other emergency related information to the community. Chief Arand from Dixon Rural Fire, $15,579 for a Lucas 3 compression device. One item I do want to bring up that is not listed here is we have 3 requests from 3 different fire departments. I've also had another fire department reach out to me, but I let them know that we had a pause on requests. So in the alternative, we could look at allocating funds to Lee County Fire Departments, if you wanted to allocate, say, a certain amount and then divide that up between fire departments. Just a suggestion, because we do have a few that are looking for funds.
I think we need to address the fire departments sooner than later. They've been requesting these and there is no sublet and them, I don't know if they reached out.
That is the one that reached out.
Yeah, so, there's 10 fire departments in Lee County, fire districts. There might be,
I'm sorry, I don't know how many there are.
I think,
Ask me that.
so I think we need to address that, whether we give them all $10,000. I'm just throwing that out there, or how are we gonna do that, or do it by size of department? But really, that's not fair because they all need equipment. You know what I mean? Whether you have,
So what we kind of wondered about is that maybe we lump the fire departments together as a single category so that when we talk about where your priorities are, you can identify fire departments as one of your priorities, and then we can approach how do we go about getting dollars to those fire departments. And answer your question, Bob, about how many there are. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. However, there are some that, for example, Walnut, that extend just a few parcels inside Lee County. So they're not, it depends on how you define a Lee County Fire Department, but that's something, again, we can analyze later if you guys decide that fire departments are one of your top priorities.
well,
Does
I
that
think,
make sense?
yeah, I think they have equipment. They need to get ordered and get in. So I think we need to address it. Is maybe at next monthly meeting or whatever, but let's go through your process and we'll go from there.
Okay. Next one on the list is premium pay for county employees. This was a joint request by Paul Rudolphi and Greg Saunders. So that would be $1,000 for full-time employees, $500 for part-time employees. Greg Gates from Lots, a portion of funding for an ADA vehicle. There are grants available, but due to COVID, it would be delayed until 2024. And I believe the van needs to be replaced prior to that. Is that correct, Greg?
Yeah, like you said, Sarah, we're running up against obviously production stalls for that industry. And one of the most recent opportunities that we had, there was a vehicle that we were looking to purchase out of Minnesota. And given the time frame, we were just not able to move on that. What I do have as a tentative agreement with Ogle County is that they would match the other half of the projected cost, which would be roughly $63,000. Should the Lee County ARPA committee actually give approval to this. So there would be a partnership there and not the full cost, the full brunt of the cost covered by Lee County.
Sheriff Simonton has, he originally had 4 requests on here, but we took one of them off because it didn't actually have a number to it. It was kind of a question mark, just a request that was put out under old ARPA rules, just to kind of keep in mind. And then there was another one that was put out under old ARPA rules, and we kind of moved those off to the side and brought the 2 most recent requests here to the committee. So we've got $91.70 for ballistic panels. And then we've got $5,440 for a drug terminator. We have 2 requests for Dave Anderson for the highway department. $525,000 for concrete box culvert replacement, $1.8 million for facility maintenance and modernization. We've got some requests from Dixon Park District, 3 of those. There is a slight change to one of the requests. So that priority number 1, repaving Lowell Park roads. Dwayne reached out to me earlier this week or last week and told me that there was a grant available to them, but they would need a commitment from Lee County for half of that, which would be $400,000, correct, Dwayne? Yes, so that number has changed a bit. He's not looking for the 755,503, he's looking for 400,000. And that would be a grant match on that item. And there's 205,000 for the green flush restrooms. And then 221,490 for the solar system for the new indoor facility. Lee County Fairgrounds, Andy Pratt, looking for 236,000 for upgrades to the main exhibit building, livestock barns and grounds. And then State's Attorney's Office, State's Attorney Boonstra is looking for 60,000 to address a backlog of court cases. And those are the requests Does anybody have any questions on any of those? Like I said, we have most of our requesters here. If anybody has any questions on anything. Okay. We as ARPA staff are giving you a suggestion to review and make a decision on all of these outstanding requests. So we would ask that each committee member pick 2 priority projects from that list, and I'll put that list back up on the screen once I get past this, so you can look at that. And then we're going to pick the project that receives the most votes from the committee members. And at that point, we'll talk about funding options for that request. If there are any funds that remain available in the line item, we'll go through the process again. We'll pick that next one that received the next most votes and discuss funding for that request. If we have a whole bunch of requests that are like 1 vote, 2 votes, then what we'll look at is just re-voting again, each committee member getting 2 votes, and then starting with that project that receives the most votes. Any questions or feedback on that voting process?
No, I think we need a process to get moving on it so we can give these people some answers. So
Okay, okay. So I will move this Excel spreadsheet back over here. Move for me. We have those projects up there on the board.
So Sarah, are you thinking that, so there may be a project that I may vote as a priority, but I don't necessarily feel that we can afford to fund at the level that they're requesting. And so how do we handle that?
So that's, as ARPA staff, we discussed that. When we say, look at funding for that project, maybe we don't have their full funding amount available left in that line item. So it would be up to the committee to decide what would be an amount that we could fund for that project. Is it half of it? Is it a quarter of it?
Gotcha.
Is there grant funds available? Could there be grant funds available for that project? So looking at, you're willing to commit X amount of dollars to that project if we can't fund that full amount.
So step 1 is to pick the top 2 priority projects. Step 2 is then to analyze the request and determine how we might fund that project. I will just insert here, as I said a minute ago, staff's recommendation was to look at the fire departments as a joint request for right now. So if you said the fire departments were one of my top priorities, it's not picking between the 3 projects that are up there, but rather let's talk about, I want to fund the fire departments or give something to the fire departments. Then we'll talk as a second step about how we would allocate that money to those fire departments. I will also add that Charlie has pointed out that we are not able to do this process by using a ballot paper because it doesn't meet the Open Meetings Act requirements. So what we're looking to do is have you verbally state your top 2 priorities. And we will track that and tally it up and see see which projects get the most vote. We'll start working through it from there. Does that make sense? Who gets to go first?
I'll go first.
Go, Chris.
Lee County Highway and Fire Department.
which highway one?
I'm gonna put them together. I don't care. Percentage. You don't want a percentage yet. I'm just.
Yeah, just.
Yeah, just pick a project or top 2 projects that are your priorities.
Well, we're not talking about the whole amount. We'll discuss the amount when we get the project. I would say fire department's mine and I would go along with the highway. I'm more the bridge project. Let's go ahead, Will. Whenever you're ready.
Fire and Lee County 4-H.
Yep.
Fire and lots.
Beeline.
I do the fairgrounds. And I'm a little foggy on there we go. On Charlie's request, so that was for an additional, that was, what was that?
Just for backlog case and stuff he has doing or whatever.
Yeah,
So,
the staffing, for staffing to address the case backlog.
Okay,
And with all of the law changes that are coming up in the new year, staffing to address that too.
sure. All right, so I've got 4-H and, I'll do Kreider.
what was your other one?
Kreider.
Okay. Rick Humphreys on. Rick, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Becky's got your pick, but I think it'd come better coming from you.
I'll take the highway, the bridge project. I guess if I got to pick a second, probably the 4-H center.
Sarah, you got them tallied up or somebody?
We do. So I have one, and Wendy, Patty, if you're jacking.
We,
them,
we all were
make sure
keeping
I got
track just in
these right.
case, just in
So I
case.
have one vote for Kreider. It was specified as Kreider as a whole, so I kind of lumped those three together. One vote for Kreider, 4 votes for fire as a whole, 1 vote for lots, 2 votes for the highway department as a whole, and then 1 vote for the bridge project. And then 3 votes for the fairgrounds. Did I get that correctly?
That is exactly what I've got.
Okay.
Although the only thing I did is I did lump together the highway together, even though one was specified. I figured we're going to let Dave make that decision.
Okay.
So, but yes, so that means our highest priority based on those votes is the fire departments.
Correct.
So the
then
next step
next
is,
step is, let's discuss funding for that.
So my idea is we have 13 fire departments, and I was asking Wendy if we could figure out what percentage of parcels or Lee County residents, I think Lee County residents makes more sense, each fire department serves, and then divide up a flat number based on that. So I think it's hard to say that Walnut only comes up a little ways, but they're still serving Lee County residents, but the city of Dixon serves all of Dixon and all Lee County residents. I think you can get a percentage base there. My suggestion would be about $50,000 divided percentage wise between all the fire departments of
So you wanted,
they serve.
you're gonna request the funding on how many constituents they have in their district.
What's that?
You're gonna do the funding by how many constituents they have in their district.
Correct.
The only problem I have with that is if they need equipment, they need it whether they got 5 or 500.
I understand that, but this is dividing it up as equal as you can amongst all of them. So you've got. So you look at even the Sterling or Polo Fire Department, they only serve a little bit. They should be going to Carroll County
Well,
to go get.
Why don't we look at the districts and say if you gotta have more than 25% of your district in Lee County, then we're gonna fund you or a percentage.
So if you go to that point, you're looking at Dixon Rural, Dixon City, Amboy, Franklin Grove, Ashton, West Brooklyn, Compton, Sublet, Paw Paw, and Harmon. That would take out Ogle Lee, Walnut, and Ohio.
So it leaves us with 9.
So it'd leave you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10.
I think you need to double that, or make it 100,000 and give them all 10 at that rate or whatever.
I'm just throwing out ideas.
Yeah,
If you
and
want
I'm
to just
throwing
go
my
to
idea,
those
yeah, don't-
10,
Yeah,
I very much like the 10 and the 100 divided 10 ways.
I like
Yeah.
the 10, but I like Chris's idea of dividing the portion.
the problem you have though is you have,
If-
but
it gets complicated. It really does. You have to bring in GIS. So if you're gonna go to $100,000, there ain't one fire department back there that's gonna scoff at an extra $10,000 coming back to them. And they're not gonna be mad. Dixon Rural and Dixon are in the back. They're not gonna be mad that they got 10,000 and Harmon or Amboy also got 10,000.
so there's some.
They're happy to get more
But
money.
you know,
to go
there's a
back.
lot of, these guys don't work in a bubble. They will work together and they could choose
Yeah,
to
you-
pool the money for equipment. It's gonna be up to them, how they do it. But we do it and we divide it up, and throw it out to the county and let them figure out what they want to do with it.
that we also need them to purchase equipment and then turn it into us to reimburse them, or how are we gonna do this process?
We can issue the check for $10,000, like we've been doing with the
Yep.
small business program, and then ask them to submit receipts
Perfect.
later for proof, or we could have them submit receipts to us and then we can reimburse that.
I would rather see that, just
Yeah, I just want,
Bob,
yes, go ahead.
so I had a question about that, I guess. I mean, when these fire departments originally came in, they all had specific programs or equipment that they were looking for. I mean, are you now just gonna just issue a check for 10,000 if that's the route you go for just whatever they want to use it for?
Well, it'd be nice if it was COVID related or some kind of mitigation. I know Amboy's talking about a sign, and Sublet has got some kind of CPR mechanism that it does CPR, so they'd have to do it person to person. You know, stuff like that. It would be nice. I think we could ask them for that.
But I guess the problem comes in is if the funding isn't enough for that project to happen, are they just gonna get a $10,000 check, I guess?
they're still gonna have to turn around, Rick, and use that money on supplies that they need. And all these fire departments need something along the way.
They got,
And I understand that, and I believe me, I mean, they provide a very needed service. My problem with it is they're all taxpayer funded. I don't know that they're in dire need unless they came to us with a specific project, I guess is my point. I don't want to just funnel $10,000 to another government agency so that they can, you know, make their budget whole or whatever the case may be.
I could suggest an MOU and list some specifics in there that,
yeah,
you know, if they've been impacted by COVID and they've been unable to items or due to COVID. So we could come up with some wording that would kind of fit that in. So
and they've got 3 years to make this work too. We could
Correct.
hold that money, or I guess we could send it to them, but they got 3 years to be able to do this. So I think with 3 years budgets, they'll be able to work it in, I would think.
They know what they need.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We have some experts in the back of the room. Would it be appropriate to ask them for some input?
Absolutely. Chris, we're looking. What's their thoughts? We'd like to hear from them.
come on, you can come on up if you'd like.
I guess we're asking how it work, how you'd like to see it work.
Well, obviously, ideally, the training facility would be a great addition to the county. It's a dire need, but there's not enough money for that. And so I certainly understand.
So
that's
we need you to be in the mic.
concerned.
No problem.
So, I mean, like I said, obviously, the training facility would be ideal, but there's not enough funding available for that. So, you know, it is what it is in that regard. As far as what the money that is available for the fire departments, this is probably the best option. What you guys are presenting, in my opinion. Give them some money to make some purchases that they need.
There was some thought that if we did it this route, that you all as fire departments could pool your money and do something that might jointly impact everybody, all the fire departments. That would be entirely up to you as to whether you pursued that, but that was also an option that was discussed.
And we're talking 100,000, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know what that project would be. It's not really enough for a large project, but it may be an option.
I think by and large, we'd like to see it go to a specific thing rather than just like somebody said, making a budget hole. We don't want it that way, you know. just Line something out, and say, well, we took the ARPA money and bought this, bought that.
Any more questions for him?
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks. Chris, what's your thoughts, sir? What do you?
Yeah, I'm perfectly fine with $100,000 going to the 10 Dixon Rural, Dixon City, Amboy, Franklin Grove, Ashton, West Brooklyn, Compton, Sublet, Paw Paw, and Harmon. And
You making that motion?
put that in a motion, paid after The receipts are,
Well, then you're putting them on if they don't have,
that's true. Yeah, so don't add that. So I make the motion to send for those 10 fire departments, a total of $100,000. Make that motion to send it to finance.
10 each, you're saying. Okay, Mr. Bevan seconds that. Okay, any more discussion? Rick, are you okay with that?
Personally, no, but I understand that it'll go for a vote, and if it passes, it passes.
All right. Any more discussion? If none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion. One opposed, motion carried. Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, so our next project that received the next highest votes, we have, well, it's a tie. Because I've got Lee County Highway Department with 3 votes, and I've got Lee County Fairgrounds with 3 votes.
So what we kind of anticipated at this point, because we did maybe anticipate this would happen, is that this is when we scratch the votes we've taken so far. You again, now that we've eliminated the fire departments from the list, that you go back through the list and you again give us your top 2 priorities, and we will again determine what got the most votes, and we'll focus on that. Is that agreeable to everybody?
I personally think we can probably discuss both of these. I think they got 3 votes apiece. Like they're gonna settle up to the top. I think we can discuss both of these and then
The question is, Chris, which one do you take first? And then you maybe eliminate one from having any money left. That's the question.
Or do we revote just those 2? And you guys give your top priority between those 2?
it'd be fun.
Okay.
Because
Let's do it between those 2.
just
Right.
between those 2, because they were the top or the second top vote getters. Revote it to see which one. is
Which
your
one you
priority.
discuss
Which
first.
one is your priority, right?
Let's do that. Pick one of the 2.
Highway.
Wait a minute, I'm not documenting.
Our scorekeeper ready?
Rick, mute your phone.
Go ahead, Mr. Bevins. Nichols,
Fairgrounds.
Rick, where are you at?
Highway Bridge Project.
Oh, boy.
You don't have a vote. You don't vote.
All right.
You don't vote right now.
I'll abstain. How's that?
Correct.
So, but we still need to address the highway at some point. So
So your vote is?
I abstained. I abstained.
Oh,
Otherwise,
you are officially
otherwise we're gonna
abstaining.
be going around and around here. Okay?
And I just want to make a comment. So the fairgrounds, this is their only shot at getting some money. We're doing some things and Dave is aware of what we're doing. You know, we're taking a look at some other, taking care of his issues in a different way. And so I'm
So
kind
I'm
of
gonna,
leaning, dealing with the highway stuff that way rather than within ARPA. So.
and we probably need to study that highway project a little more anyhow. So let's do the fairgrounds. So I'm working with some corporate sponsors for the fairgrounds. So in my opinion, I'm not in for the whole amount. Maybe we give them a part of that or something, but I don't want to direct this conversation. Let's have it come from the floor.
So I would say, let's throw a number to start with. I'd say $80,000.
I can live with that.
80,000?
80.
Where'd you come up with 80?
I don't know, out of the air. There was no, there
It's the
was
square
no
root of.
that number at all. That was, it's sort of like an auction, John, you gotta start somewhere and, it either goes up or down from there.
I believe the correct answer was 20 less than 100. is the very correct answer.
So I had it between 50 and 100,000. I can live with any number that you guys pick in between there. That was,
And I guess part of that is, that's a third of the project, so.
So maybe also, and not to complicate this, but also maybe you could consider, even with the 2 requests you approved today, we allocated, what's our remaining allocation, Sarah? I've forgotten, in the community service. We have an option? Yeah. Patty's saying 130. I'll take her word for it, just as an example for conversation. We can continue to fund community service projects as they flow in, and they have been, and we've been doing that. Or you can consider this a community service type of project and allocate funding out of there. And I'm not talking about just 10,000. I'm talking about, okay. All right, so we just approved 20. So we got 110 left there. That's something for your consideration. Is there any consideration of that, or should
don't know
we
what
just
you
set
said,
that
Eileen.
topic aside?
Yes.
So she discussed taking funds for the Lee County Fairground out of the community service allocation, not in the $10,000 cap that we've set. We've got $130,000.
Well,
We approved
and you
20,000
approved
of
20.
requests, so we've
Yeah,
got
so you have 100,
110,000
you've got 110
in
left
that
in there.
category.
It's definitely a community service, so I have no issues with that. Good point. But what do we do with the cap? We set the cap, or?
Well, here's the thing. I wouldn't look at it as literally funding it as the program we laid out for community service. I would suggest to you that you could reallocate the 80,000 or whatever it is you want to do and reallocate towards this, because I do think it kind of fits the, the general intent of what we wanted to do with community service.
Yeah,
And
I think so. And maybe somebody put that in a motion and that would work. I'd entertain
I
that.
was thinking of something else. I'm sorry.
I got
What was
you.
the suggestion of the motion?
I got you.
You got it?
Yep, I make a motion that we move $100,000 of the allocation for community service into general request to be allocated towards the Lee County Fairgrounds
So.
and move that to finance.
Wait until we get first and second.
Mr. Bevan seconds that. Let's have a discussion.
So the question I have on that, because I was looking at those dollars and we can do whatever we want, really, but I was kind of thinking that allocation could go over year and we use that, for those projects, not just this year, but also going forward. But I mean, it's whatever the committee wants to do.
You mean take the $100,000?
I think-
No, it was just that what we didn't use next year would be available for the
Yeah.
community people to apply for next year. I don't know if that was in the thought process of staff.
I guess that's what I'm asking you, is that's your call.
I guess that was kind of something that was stuck in my head.
See, I'm looking at $6 million of unapproved stuff that I think we
Yeah,
would like to move on faster. Like, I've got one in the hand worth two in the bush, right? Like, these are the people who
Yeah.
come and ask right for now. I think they want an answer, and I think that's fair to give them an answer. This just allows to move $100,000 more funding into this department that hasn't been used in the last, 18 months?
And I'm making a phone call to Andy Pratt. I just want to get a little bit of his input since he's not able to.
Why don't we have a couple minute recess then and we'll do that. Okay?
Recess with the motion.
That's, I was like, you have a motion on the floor.
Charlie was here, he might be going, no, we can't do that.
Service. We said, for those of you who want, let's do that. Now we're taking it away, but we also $1 million inside. We agree to use it any trip.
We can use all of that. So right now we're at 485.
7,
So I still thought we had 485.
Yeah.
But he just moved to 100.
Am I request-
100,000.
Yeah, I mean-
Yep, after the fire department, that's where that leaves us. And then if we take the funds out of community service, then we're not taking anything out of that general amount. So then our next one we address, we'll have that 400.
And it's a good thing you guys are tracking those. I some for.
I know.
That's what I think, but question, the 10,000 you guys are missing.
I think we'll have the reserves for 2023 and I can divide it up and say there's a certain community service amount. Or
We take half.
you can do whatever you want. It's our money. We get to make that decision. There's no guideline. If that's not abundantly clear.
You know, we just don't have the money to hand out, so you have to pick and choose, and then you have to say, okay, I wanna help you, but I only have this amount. Do you want it? Because if you don't, we'll go find somebody else.
We gotta tell
Yeah,
them.
and those guys-
Oh, no, you gotta tell them. You gotta tell them.
I know what they want.
You tell them.
Yeah, hey, cheat on.
Yes, exactly.
No, hold on.
All right, let's,
We're having an off.
Charlie wouldn't approve. I just know that.
Yes, Charlie would definitely not approve.
Yes.
He'd be having a heart attack about now.
We're still in meeting. It's not like it's not open session.
Let's call the meeting back to order.
Hey, guys. Guys, we're back. We haven't.
Yeah.
You have a motion.
I don't use it on that. I'll use it. Yes.
Hey,
No, you didn't.
So Chris, I'm gonna ask you to repeat your motion.
Yes.
okay, so my motion, gentlemen,
Hey, John.
John, Tim, hey, boys.
There you
Guys, I'm not sure if you heard us say that Charlie would be having a heart attack right now because we have a motion on the floor and we've got sidebar conversations.
Okay, so my motion,
Late motion meetings.
my motion is to move $100,000 out of the community service into the general fund. Let's do it as two motions, okay?
Well, I just want you to repeat the motion.
Yeah, so my motion, yeah,
Yeah, we got-
so move $100,000 into from community service into the general request, and then allocate $100,000 to the Lee County Fairgrounds out of the general request. And move it to finance.
Yeah, so that was a motion on the floor. We got a second. So we're still in discussion mode. And
Bivens.
Mr. Bivens,
But I think we should probably do it as two. So I would like to rescind my motion.
is that all right with the,
No, I think it needs to be done as two. Don't you guys?
So I am absolutely confused.
Well,
What-
shouldn't
what
we
are we doing?
move, shouldn't we move the $100,000 to, and then move the $100,000?
you could put that all in the same motion, but we're still up for discussion. And let's still do, what if we did half and half? If we took half out of the community service and half out of, no, okay.
6 ways, half dozen the other.
I just meant leaves money for later projects, maybe lots or something like that. You know what I mean?
So remind me, what is the motion on the floor, Mr. Chairman?
Well, he just read it and maybe we'll ask him to do it again.
To move $100,000 out of the community service.
He says it 3 times, you might believe it. So go ahead.
Move the $100,000 out of the category of community service program and into general request, and then fund Lee County Fairgrounds to $100,000 and send that to finance.
Have a second. Are you good with that motion or do you want to rescind?
I'm
that?
fine with it. If everybody's fine with it, I'm good with it. I just was trying
I'm
to
gonna
clear it
call
up,
for a
clean it
vote
up
here pretty
for,
soon. Any more discussion? Yes, Rick, what's your thoughts? Thank you.
I'm good with that.
I'm ready to vote. I have.
Okay, I'm gonna call the vote. All those in favor of the motion from Mr. Norberg signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right.
Opposed? Motion carried.
So basically, the net effect of that, Mr. Chair, is that leaves us still at 485, 589.
Yeah,
Yes, that is
Yep.
correct.
Oh,
Yep.
Yep.
So we've got 485, 589. And then our next request that we just re-voted on was the highway department's request.
I'm gonna ask the finance chair and put him on the spot. How much benefit does it do to the finance to? There's plenty of projects in Lee County. This feels like to me that we're paying, this is good money spent for Lee County.
Yeah,
'Cause we're
and,
gonna
and there's
use
no
it
question about that. You know, it's a matter of, how much. What we're looking at several options of taking care of Dave's needs. Obviously, if we fund, the box culvert, so to speak, out of the general request, that's going to alleviate some of the needs that we're going to be asking, you know, in a different way. You know, it's how you want to, you know, again, it's comes down to how you want to spend this out of the ARPA pool money. So the box culvert that Dave's asked for, that's got to get done. You know, no more. That's a required project. That money's gonna get spent by the county regardless. The upgrading facilities that we have, we're in the process of looking at different options for that. So we have no idea what the actual dollars there goes. It could be 1.8, it could be 6. We don't know. And of course, it also depends on the direction that the you know, county board wants to go. So that's really, I guess my gut feeling is we've got to take care of Dave's department one way or the other, because that's a general obligation that we have as county government. You know, I think in my view, I'm going to take care of him elsewhere. And I'd like to concentrate our dollars, you know, on the other applicants.
Dave,
That's my personal.
can we have you come up here and I got a couple questions I'd like to run by you if we could. Go ahead, John, while he's coming.
Well, the highway department's near and dear to me, but we will fund it one way or the
I
other.
thought properties were,
And
which is.
once this money's gone, it's gonna be gone. And I would like to see what we have remaining, which is not much in comparison to the request,
Yeah.
have it remaining to things such as the fairgrounds, where they don't really have another source of income other than admittance.
Yeah.
And so once the money's gone, we're not gonna be able to give them anymore.
So is this a project you're gonna do this year yet? This culvert? I know on funding, it relies on funding. I get
It's
it.
currently getting engineered. We'll build it next year.
Okay, and so you don't have that's just a rough estimate or whatever, you don't have a hard bid or proposal?
Don't have a hard number at this point, no.
If we kick the can down the road another month, is that gonna hurt you?
No, that's not gonna hurt.
We'd be dealing with better numbers and we'd have a recommendation out of finance.
Yeah, and we're gonna know, I think, and
We're
I
definitely
don't
gonna
know
take
whether
care of
we'll
it.
know exactly what we're gonna do with all of David's requests in a month. I doubt that very much. But in a month, maybe 2, we're gonna know a little bit better what our direction's gonna be.
Right. I think Mr. Sheeline kind of recapped it pretty well. It's either it goes here or it gets spent elsewhere, but it just puts those other things off, you know, further down the road. I'm not gonna have a real hard cost until probably late winter, when it's bid. So,
But definitely this amount would do it, you're thinking anyhow.
yes.
All right. Yes,
So I think we're all kind of in agreement that we want to go through this. We want to address the ones that we all have a personal preference on, right? And whatever money's left is going to go to Dave to help with these capital projects, as I want to call it, for Lee County. If there's 6 of us here, why don't we all vote one more time and just keep voting and going the top vote getter and discuss it until all 6 of us or 4 of us say, 5 of us say, nope, that's the last thing. I have nothing else on this list that's near and dear to my heart. That's the last thing I want to do. And I want to dedicate all the rest of the money, whether it's 480,000 or whether it's $50,000. Dave's going to appreciate any and all of it. And it's going to come, like, to the point, it's going to come out of somewhere. So,
yeah,
but there are still projects on this list that I'm like, I still like some of these things. So, but we're never all going to come to an agreement where you're going to have 6 people voting for Dave's projects. But if you get 4 or 5 that say, nope, this is where the buck stops, well, that's the majority of this committee. Now, all of a sudden, I guess that's probably where it stops. Does that make sense to everybody?
perfect.
Clear as mud?
Yeah.
Does that make sense to you?
It does make sense.
Okay.
Yes, and I think that was, as ARPA staff, that was kind of our intent when we looked at this voting, is we may have several times that we're revoting.
Rick,
The only question I would have is, are you all going to take a single top priority, or do you want to do the two top priorities again? One, Chris is saying one. Is everybody in agreement with that?
Well, this is definitely my priority. I wanted to vote for this the last time, so.
that's fine. So do we want to take another vote? Is that where we're at?
So
So do we take another vote? And if 4 people come to that Dave's is the top priority of everything else on the list, I don't want to dedicate any more money to anything else on the list.
I feel like I'm in a game show or something here.
Yeah. But I'm trying to, I don't want to discuss, I don't want to discuss.
No, it's climbing. It's the yodeler climbing the mountain.
I don't want to, I'm tired of discussing general ARPA request. I think I would love to put this to bed today, that if 4 of us say that Dave's is the last project on the list that's near and dear to my heart, and that might be the last one for you, Bob. I know that if we voted again, it's not going to be Dave's project, because there is other projects on the list that I want to see supported. But if 4 people on this committee say, no, this is where I want the last dollar spent right now is on Dave's projects and highway, then do that. And if it's 3, then we discuss it until we get to 4, which is a majority of the committee, then keep moving.
Well, why we got Dave here? Anybody got any more questions for him?
Which project is the most urgent that would require attention that
Good question.
like you might consider, like, we need to take care of this like right now?
Sure. Well, honestly, the box culvert is because it's getting done one way or the other. You know, whether this money's invested in it or I'm pulling it from somewhere else, it's sort of a have to. Otherwise, the bridge is gonna probably get rated down and so forth and limit what goes in and out of West Brooklyn there. I mean, that's the honest answer, is that that one's getting done. It just is. Because it has to.
It has to be done. Yep. Any more questions for Dave?
I got a question for the committee.
Yeah.
I guess I look at this bridge project, not that I want to do it by no means, but I don't look at this as any different light as to comparing it to the upkeep of the courthouse buildings and the money we pumped into those things. This wasn't something that we had the money for. I think that if we're keeping that same train of thought about saving the taxpayers additional money, I mean, I know what Jim's talking about and some other things. That's more long-term, and that's more, we got to put some things together, but this project here is something that's going to have to be done in the near future. So my support would be, not that I want to spend the money by no means, but I think that to save the rest of the county some additional hurt, I guess, down the road, that we use some of this funds, if whether it's all of it or part of it, towards this box culvert project.
And I think that's a fair point.
I agree. You know, we need to get it on the floor to discuss it, but what happened if we took half of this, tagged half the money for this out of ARPA for now? And at least we got that categorized, and then we go from there.
You could do that. Are we going to take the vote Chris is talking about?
We love all these sidebar
Yeah, we got-
conversations. But hey,
Um,
so I'll take a stab at it. I would move that we take 250,000 out of the general obligation that's left in the general obligation and dedicate that to the culvert project in West Brooklyn under the highway department.
It's really good, but it's just me and you right now, so.
Really.
We can do it.
So you're going to have to be like Chris and repeat your motion 3 times before they all hear it. One more time, Mr. John.
John,
My
Listen
motion
to his
is
motion. We got a
to take
motion.
250,000 out of the general, what's left out of the general obligation, general request area and move it, dedicate that for the box culvert at West Brooklyn. So that's my motion.
I will
250.
second that.
so we got a first and second. Now let's discuss it. So I think at least we're halfway home. We tag it there. We got it there. Finance can maybe find the other or whatever. Dave's got a big project coming up, maybe down the road a year or two. So we need to probably think about that as we go. So any other discussion?
It's moving 6 ways, half dozen the other, it gets him money. It all goes to the capital. It all helps the county balance the budget. It's coming from the finance guy. I can't help but support that.
Yeah.
And it saves taxpayers money down the road.
Yeah, and this committee, we just got to keep working our way through these because we got people out here waiting to see what we're doing. So we need to move on it. So we have a first, we have a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
I
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, thank you, Dave.
Sarah, I think we're down 235, 589.
That's correct. Yes, I just calculated that and that's what I've got as well.
We gave 4-H fairgrounds $100,000.
The 4-H fairgrounds, $100,000 out of community service.
Above and beyond that. So I
Correct.
would make a motion to fund the fairgrounds to what they requested. That's it. There's $136,000.
We have you want to second that? All right, I have a second. Any discussion?
The reason I do this is, as I said before, fairgrounds is they serve a lot of people. That fair is a very good thing. They don't really have any other source of income, substantial source of income. And because of that, they have gone downhill in the maintenance of their buildings over the course of the years. And I think if we could make them whole, that would be a good thing for the taxpayers of Lee County too.
Well, what we did earlier, we give them 100,000. They've got a project tagged with that money and I think it goes there. I'm working with a couple turbine funds and solar companies for donations to them to help them with what they got going. It's not going to match what they need, but we can always do this again next year or something that we save money or see where they're at. I know that's frustrating when you're the 4-H center trying to build, you want to know what you have available, but we have a lot of other needs. That's my only opinion. So don't let that sway you.
And that's where I'm at. I'm looking at $235,000 left in this fund, giving them 135, leaves 100,000 left. I just think there's other projects on here that I would like to see addressed. And that's the challenge, right? Is Dave just asked for what, almost $2.3 million between his two projects,
Yeah.
plus or minus, and we gave him $250,000. So that's the challenge that we have as a committee, of saying, no, this is where we're going to prorate it. We prorated the fire departments down to $10,000 a piece, and they're all very appreciative, just like Andy Pratt and the rest of the Lee County Fairgrounds. They're going to be ecstatic that they get $100,000. I think there's other places, whether it be Kreider, whether it be state's attorney, lots, so on and so forth, that we can,
Yeah, we got other projects.
some other things.
So
That's
that's
it.
a nice segue back to another round of voting, if you're ready for that. Oh, sorry, I thought we
got-
had approval on that.
Mr. Bevins.
The reason I do support this is one, it serves all of Lee County.
Yep.
And two, this is exactly probably the last one on here on this list that meets the original requirements that they had to shut down for 2 years. And as John pointed out, that this was their only income. So that's why I support, because it's the last one that truly met the original. Everything else is going forward. This is what we want, our wish list. This is, I think, the remaining, the lone soldier, if you will.
Yep, good point. And to both your point, the 4-H has no revenue stream. They have no, so there's General Assembly, don't give them any money, county, city. So, Mr. Sheeline, you got any comment?
Well, obviously, I'm a proponent of the fair and I know what they do out there and that organization works strictly volunteer. And those people that work on the fair, they give a tremendous amount of hours. I can't say enough good about that. I'm a little hesitant. My conversation with Andy was that, he's appreciative of whatever we do for him and he will put those dollars to use. So I'm not going to gainsay the committee and directing more dollars to.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to vote against the 4-H.
Yeah, that's exactly what I want to do.
It's just the timing issue on that. And so how do we do this motion if we have 100 already approved and
Russ, in a second.
136,000 would be your motion, correct?
Yes.
Rick, do you got any comment?
No, I'm good.
All right, any more comment? Let's do a roll call vote.
I've lost my list here. Bob Olson, Jim Sheeline,
Yes.
John Nicholson,
Yes.
Chris Norberg, Rick Humphrey,
Yes.
Tim Bivens.
Yes.
Carried. Thank you. Sarah, take us away somewhere.
We have $99,589 left. Would we like to take another vote?
Yes.
Use it up.
What do we got left here?
I got a comment.
Yes.
Did we, in our social services, Jim, encourage some of those departments to come back for the additional funds that they were requesting, and would it go into this category?
It wouldn't go into the general, all those groups would go into the nonprofit, social area where we just took 100,000 out of that. And there'd be 36,000 left, which would more than cover,
10,000.
There's only gonna be 10
oh,
left.
10,000. Well, I think even the 10,000 would still cover if all the groups that weren't fully funded in their requests from Monday night came back and applied, the 10,000, I think would cover it.
Yes, I believe you're correct, Jim.
Thank you.
Before we do this vote, is there anything up there we want to vote no to, vote it down that we don't want to see come back? Or is there anything that steps out?
All premium pay. I will not support any of that.
Or why don't we just take a vote? Or is that what you want to do, or you want to just verbalize?
And we can take a vote if you'd like to. If you still have another priority project, we can do one vote towards another project that has not been funded yet.
How much did you say we have left?
We have
$99,000.
$99,589.
I suggest taking a vote, guys. Are you prepared to do that?
Yes,
I'm seeing some head nodding. All right, Chris, do you want to lead us again?
I will, love to. I'm gonna vote for the golf course for Kreider.
Mr. Bivens? Mr.
Like lots.
Not all of it.
Mr. Sheeline?
Kreider.
Mr. Humphrey?
Abstain.
I'd say the same thing. Yep.
Okay, so I have 3 votes for Kreider and 1 vote for Lots. Yep, you got, okay.
We can.
So let's move to the Kreider request. Let's
I
discuss
know,
funding.
I get 4 votes.
Oh, 4 for Kreider?
Oh, you voted Kreider.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I must.
Oh, we thought you abstained.
No, I mumbled.
Oh,
Writer.
okay, sorry.
Yeah.
All right,
So
Can't tell.
I
I
would-
was script, don't want to commit.
So I had the opportunity to sit down with Kreider, City of Dixon. And initially, I'll be honest, I will tell you right now that when I was approached with this, I told them this is the dumbest idea I've ever heard in the history of Lee County. I really, really did. But after sitting down with them and knowing what they want to do and knowing the clientele base that they have out there and the opportunities that these clients are going to be able to achieve by us making a donation there. This does not get them all the way there. They wanted significantly more money. And there needs to be some clawbacks in this if they don't get it built. A lot of this is going to go to the irrigation system. So like I said, I thought this was an awful idea when I first heard it. And after hearing their proposal, I was like, oh, I can get behind that because of the benefit it's going to do to Lee County and the surrounding areas. So I would just give them everything that's left.
You want to put a motion on the floor so we can discuss it?
Yeah, so I'll make a motion to approve or send to finance $99,589 for the golf course Kreider project.
How much?
$99,589, which would take us to 0. The remaining balance to send that to finance for the golf course irrigation project.
Do I have a second? Mr. Bivens seconds it. Now we can discuss it from there.
I wasn't done. Wasn't done with my motion.
Oh, keep going then.
I think with a condition that it has to be complete within 2 years or put it 5 years, 5 years. There has to be a time.
For funding wise, we have until, it would have to be fully expended by 2026.
Okay, so that's.
Well, I,
We got a motion. Mr. Bivens, you want to second that? Okay.
okay, I guess we,
No, sorry,
so are we in discussion?
yes.
So how are we gonna, okay, I guess my thought was, Chris, is that if they don't secure funding for the rest and the project doesn't move forward, the money comes back.
Correct, and that's where I'm
So-
at too. So how do we?
Yeah, I think Kreider needs to, give us a go, no go. Because I think there was some real question marks whether they were going to be able to secure the rest of the funding. I mean, my understanding is I talked to people that if they didn't get the full amount from us, there was a real question mark on whether it was going to go or not. And I understand that we just couldn't do that. But
So I've been in discussions with them and I asked Kreider Foundation to put some skin in the game and now they're going to put 200,000 in. I think the city of Dixon is in for 450,000. What they're talking about. They need a commitment out of the county for 250,000 to make this work, or it's probably not going to work. I'm not advocating for more money. I'm just telling you the discussions I had with the city and Kreider and that it is quite a presentation what they do. They really need 400 out of the county and that's going to be hard to do.
Yeah, and that doesn't include any downstate funding that they're trying to secure as well. This gives them, let's just call it round figure, $100,000 that we're at least willing to invest in them. And if they can get the rest of the funding, by all means, it's a great project and I think it needs to move forward.
so we could do, if I may suggest, and I'm not suggesting, I don't know if we can do the 250. I just don't see if we can, unless, the only way I could see us do that. But what we could do right now, we've got 245 in business and economic development area that we haven't expended yet. We could take $50,000 or 45,000, whatever you want to do, take out of that and add to the 100,000, or shy of 100,000 that we're contemplating here. That'd get us to 150. Then, if you really wanted to get to the 250, we've got the $2 million that we've deferred next year and after, because this is going to be a multi-year project. We could take $50,000 out of 23 and 24, and that would get them to the 250. I mean, I think, aren't they just looking for a commitment from us?
Yeah, I think they need a commitment, but this is going to be hard to put on paper because there's some clawbacks that I would like to see in there. And I don't know if we need that in, whether the whole board talks about that, but the clawbacks are, if it gets sold within the next 2 or 3 years or 5-year period, the county gets our money back or a percentage per year.
So we could commit to 100,000, 50,000 next year, 50,000 in 24. And if the project doesn't move forward, that's going to be, we're not even, that's committed, but it's not.
So once again, I'm not trying to get us to raise our money. What I'm trying to explain is if we come in at 100,000, they're going to come back to us and say that's not going to work, because I've been in negotiations with this extensively. And so I don't care where we end up. I'm just giving you where we're at with the whole project. And I think Chris sat in. Who else? Did you sit in that presentation that day with when we all met?
Well, here, I heard, his presentation here. I don't know.
We
if
had a
there was another
meeting
one.
in the back room here, but
I wasn't present at that one.
okay, so there's a tent complex. They're going out there they're going to have wedding venues and stuff. I mean, this is quite a project. But just trying to get the whole community behind it. I think downstate, they've been, 400,000 or 500,000. They've got.
So I like where Jim's head's at. Like, I think we can approve this. And we also approve, say, $50,000 out of the small business economic development. That gets them to 150,000 plus a commitment for 50,000 out of 22 or 23 and 24. That gets them a commitment of $250,000.
Okay,
So
would you like amend your motion to that to reflect that?
It would have to be all right with the second, correct?
so I'd like to amend my motion to $99,589 coming out of general request. What do we say? $50,000 coming out of business and economic development and $50,000 coming out of the 2023 and 2024 reserves each to
Sure.
go to Kreider for the golf course repairs.
What would the total be then? Because we got to
A
not,
total of just shy of $250,000.
Yeah, if we
why don't we just make it
just
250?
roll it up, the
Yeah.
business, so
Yeah,
it's an
yeah.
even
So the-
250.
The business and economic development contribution should be that amount
50,000
that
plus.
brings it to me.
No more
To
than
get
a
us to the
total,
250.
no more than total of the next 3-4 years of $250,000.
So just that, so staff is clear on your intent, would your intent be then that we develop the clawback provisions, et cetera, that no money would actually be expended at this point until we work out those finite details?
Yes.
All right,
So you need a second.
I know that. We're still working on your motion.
Okay.
The clarifying amount, I calculated that.
Last time we got,
$50,411.
Yep.
And
we're just gonna
there-
make it,
and to be honest, after their presentation, there does not need to be clawbacks. They've got so many things in place by being a nonprofit that there's certain things that they have to do. So
well, I'm
I,
gonna vote no then because I need some clawbacks on this for the county. So just throwing that out there. You got mad last time.
but I don't know what the clawbacks are.
So
Let's,
do
we
we
got a
have,
second
do
on
we
that.
need to have, I think staff understands
There
that
have been
that there
second.
needs to be clawbacks and they can work on that
Yes.
and work with Kreider to understand what needs to be said and,
Yes, we can
Yeah.
take care of that.
and I'd be fine with that.
That's fine.
We got a first, Mr. Bivens seconded. And any more discussion? Rick, you got any discussion with this part?
No, I'm gonna abstain.
We'll do a roll call vote.
Bob Olson. Jim Sheehan. John Nicholson. Chris Norberg,
Yes.
Rick Humphrey abstains. Tim Bivens.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes.
Turn it back over to our host of the game show. Vanna White. Yeah, did you abstain, Rick?
So I believe that is all I
Yes.
have for you. Next meeting date, we've got Thursday, September 8th at 9 a.m.
Any more? Larry,
No.
oh,
all of the money we had left in the general is now allocated as of today's actions. There is some left yet in the economic development allocation. And of course, we have the reserve of 2023 and 2024 of $1 million each, of which we just approved, right, exactly, of which we just approved 50,000 each year towards the golf course. So that's what's left.
any more? I'd entertain a motion to dismiss.
Yes.
Mr. Bivens seconds it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.